So please do not try to sign in. We're waiting for IT to do some additional work. But we'll be being 7 o'clock, we'll call the Marathon County Board of Supervisors to order, please. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be followed by a moment of reflection. So as we ponder that moment of reflection, let's all keep the families that have been affected by the incident in Texas in our thoughts and prayers. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll have the reading of the notice, please.
The adjourned organizational meeting of the Marathon County Board of Supervisors, composed of 38 members, will convene at the Marathon County Courthouse Assembly Room on Tuesday, May 24th at 7 p.m., and the agenda was duly signed and posted.
Thank you. And I would like to request everyone please silence their cell phones and or any other electronic devices as to not to be an interruption during the meeting. And we have the clerk is on the phone with IT as we speak. And so we'll hopefully get the meeting manager started in just a second. While we wait for IT to give the assistance to the clerk, I'd like to welcome all of the visitors that we have here and our viewing audience and thank them for their interest in Marathon County's board meeting this evening.
He and Rick Santor were the best people.
We are in. If you'd like to go ahead and mark yourself as present, please.
roll is called.
Alan, you have to raise your hand and wave it. I brought mine to Wausau 3 times.
Appointed my dad to experiment.
My second one. Yeah. The first one, to be fair, I dropped it in the parking lot. Never quite been the same. And you back over. Yeah. I, besides the battery life, it takes a good charge this one.
Yeah, all right. At this point, we're going to go to manual roll call. We're still having challenges with the open meetings server. So I'll have the clerk call the roll, please.
Arstead. Book. Cavelli.
Here.
Dickinson.
Here.
Drabeck.
Here.
Gibbs.
Here.
Gonnering.
Here.
Hart.
Here.
Hardinger.
Here.
Lamont.
Here.
Langenhan.
Here.
Leahy.
Here.
Lemmer.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
Mask.
Here.
McEwen.
Here.
Morash.
Here.
Niemeyer.
Here.
Oberbeck.
Here.
Opel.
Here.
Ritter. Robinson.
Here.
Rosenberg.
Here.
Soibert.
Here.
Stravinsky.
Here.
Sundelsky.
Here.
Straub.
Here.
Ungerer.
Here.
Van Cray.
Here.
Vensky.
Here.
Wilhelm.
Here.
Zhang.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to, again, welcome all of the visitors that we have. And we will move on to item 7B, and that is a memorial for Mao Kang. What is your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Zhang and second by Supervisor Robinson. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve the memorial to Mao Kang signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And we will move on to item C, appointments to the Park Commission. Have the clerk read the appointments, please.
Appointing Wausau City Alderperson Lou Larson and Wausau City Alderperson Carol Lukens to the Park Commission to complete a 7-year term to expire June 30, 2029, or until such time as they are no longer on the city council, whichever occurs first.
What is your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Mask. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Rosenberg. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. And the motion is to approve the Park Commission appointments, Lou Larson and Carol Lukens. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried and is unanimous. And we'll move on to item C9, Public Library Board.
Appointing Andrea Sheridan, Wausau, Wisconsin, to complete a 3-year term to expire December 31st, 2024.
What is your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Van Cray and seconded by Supervisor Book. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve Andrea Sheridan to the Public Library Board signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried and is unanimous. We will move on to the consent agenda, items D10 through items D14A. What is your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Langenhan. There's a second by Supervisor Drabeck. Any discussion on any of the items D10 through items D14A? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote with the approval of all of the items on the consent agenda, items D10 through items D14A. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion is carried. Thank you. And we'll move on to resolutions. Item E, from Human Resources, Finance and Property Committee, item E15, approval of the 2022 budget transfers for Marathon County Department of Appropriations, Resolution 37-22. What is your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Robinson and seconded by Supervisor Vensky. Any discussion? This does require a 2/3 majority vote. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the 2022 budget transfers for Marathon County Department of Appropriations, Resolution 37-22, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. And moving on to item E16, a resolution awarding the sale of $24,165,000, and that is going to be a change to $23,915,000 general obligation capital improvement bonds, Series 2022A. What is your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Robinson and seconded by Vice Chair McEwen. And Supervisor Robinson.
Thank you. Christie, are you going to, can I call Christie?
Yep.
Yield the floor to Christie to give an overview of the two issues?
Yes. Our Finance Director, Christy Cordes, will be providing an overview on the process and the bond issuance today and the actions by the Finance Committee this afternoon.
Do we have the PowerPoint up? Yeah, that would be great. Or is it in here?
I don't know that it's in the, I can drive while you just talk.
So in March, the county board passed an initial resolution to approve the 2022 CIP program. The funding part that would be borrowed. So then we went through the process of awarding. The initial resolution was in March. We have come to the point where we actually have issued a official statement to institutional investors stating that we would be issuing bonds in the amount of $24,165,000 for the 2022 CIP program. We had a rating conference with Moody's Investor Service. They then established our AA1 bond rating, which is the second highest rating you can get. It is the highest rating that Marathon County would get because of our size. We just don't have the population and really the tax base to be a AAA. So Dane County would be large enough for a AAA, Waukesha County, but not Marathon County. So we've had it reaffirmed as a AA1. So that is a very, very high credit rating. And today, PFM went out and took bids from our institutional investors. So we did bonds. And when we're doing those bonds, they're usually institutional investors or banks that buy those bonds. And they're going to buy the whole lot of those at one time. So they bid on the entire $24,165,000. Against that, we have an official statement that was out saying it would not to exceed that dollar amount. We have an underlying credit rating of a AA1, and we have a history, which you'll see in this presentation, of why we have established such a decent bond rating. With that, the bids were taken, and what I will do is turn this presentation over to Christine Hansen of PFM, who is our financial advisor, accepted the bids, did an evaluation of them to get the best price with the lowest true interest cost to us. And then this afternoon at 3 o'clock, the HR Finance Committee approved the winning bid, and they have forwarded that to you. And the form of the resolution has been filled out that you received this evening because it was reviewed then by bond counsel this afternoon. So what you are being presented is that bid amount at the lowest rate of the bids that came in, and that was then reviewed and put into the official document that you see tonight. And with that, I'll turn this over to Kristen Hansen from PFM, and that stands for Public Financial Management, and they're the financial advisors for Marathon County. One nice thing about the financial advisors that we do use is that they're an independent firm. So some banks or institutions will go to market with our bonds, the municipal bonds, so we want them to sell in our best interest. And on the flip side, some other entities may also sell those bonds or market it to their clients on the investor side. That is not the case with this firm. They are there to sell those bonds in the market and get the best price possible for us. So with that, I'll turn it over, and we're just going to go through a very short PowerPoint. If you have any questions, we'll take those at the end. It not only includes the original $24 million double or 2022A, we also then took bids again on the 22B bonds, which are the $19,225,000 bonds for the North Central Healthcare Facility remodel. So when we talk tonight, we are going to talk through this presentation, very short, but it will be about both of those bonds, and you will vote independently first on the 2022A and then on the 2022B. And with that, I will allow Kristen Hansen to speak. And just to let you know, Kristen, that the fire trucks and ambulance are going by, so I will probably just give you a second to get onto the WebEx. And if you hear some sirens, don't panic. It's outside our windows. So you can go ahead. You may have to unmute her. I don't know.
I am unmuted.
Okay.
We can hear you, Kristen. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Kristen Hansen. I'm a financial advisor and director at PFM. And the PowerPoint that is before you. So are you hearing an echo? Because I'm on two screens.
No, you're fine. No echo here.
Okay. So on page page 1 of the PowerPoint, not the cover page, Christy outlined what happened to bring us to here today. You have the 2022A bonds, the general obligation capital improvement bonds, which were sold to finance your 2022 capital improvement projects. The process for those started back in March, where the county board adopted the initial resolution for the issuance of these bonds. There was also a set sale resolution that was adopted at a future board meeting date. And then today we brought forward we're bringing forward the sale results for the bids that we took at 10 a.m. in our office. The 2022 B bonds are the general obligation healthcare project building bonds that are to finance the next phase of the healthcare center project. Back in 2018, the county board adopted the initial resolution for the issuance of bonds or notes to finance the North Central Healthcare project, not to exceed $67 million. Since then, the county has issued a series of bonds in phases to finance different parts of the project. $2,445,000 was issued in 2019. $23,175,000 was issued in 2020. Last year, $19 million was issued. And so before you this evening is the $19,225,000 to finance the next phase. There is, after this issuance, $3,155,000 in authority that remains of that 67 authority. So the next slide talks about rating call that we had in the outcome of the meeting. So we had a call with Moody's Investor Service, you different aspects, your financial management, your budget, audited financial statements, how you're doing this year, how COVID affected the county's finances. And as Christy indicated, Moody's affirmed the county's AA1. It is the second to the highest rating that you can get. So that was reaffirmed. Basically, your rating is based on your measured economic and tax-based growth, that you have healthy government and business type balance sheets, that you have been adding to your operating revenue in the last 3 audited year and it's projected for fiscal year 2021. You have average wealth and income metrics and affordable cost of living. Your debt levels remain average, including these 2 issues, and that you have modest exposure to unfunded pension. So I just want to give you a snapshot about what's been happening in the market that you are probably all very aware of. This chart shows where interest rates have been. You can see that the chart on the top starts in 2012, and you can see what a 10-year bond interest rate has been over those 10 years. You can see for some of the issues you did in 2020 and 21, you can see there were some low points. And in this past year, we've seen an increase in interest rates, and the feds are also talking about further increases in rates as they meet throughout 2022. The bottom graph shows what we call the yield curve. So year 1 is bonds maturing in year 1, or say 2023, going out to 2030. So you can see back from your sales in 2020 and 21, you can see those rates were low, right around, lower than 1% in year 1 and going out to less than 1.5%, 30 years out. You can see the black line shows the market rates are now. So just wanted to give you a snapshot of what's been happening in the market, and we have been seeing increases throughout the year. So the next slide shows the results of sale that we received for the 2022 A bonds. You received 3 bids. The best or lowest cost bid was FHN Financial Capital Markets out of New York, with a true interest cost rate of 3.741846. You can see that the second and third place bidders were BOK Financial Securities out of Dallas, Texas, and Baird out of Milwaukee. The difference between the first place bid and the third place bid is very tight, 3.74 to 3.78 or 0.04%. So you had a lot of interest in your bonds. And basically, as was indicated at the beginning of this presentation, is that the resolution, we were able to reduce the size of the issue due to the type of bid we received. So instead of having to issue the 2,415,615,000, we were able to reduce it to 23,915,000. So that was, you're issuing less bonds. Similarly, for the results of sale for the 2022 B bonds, we also received 3 bids. The winning underwriter was also FHN Financial Capital Markets out of New York with a 3.84. At this point, you might be wondering, well, they were both 20-year bonds. Why is this different? We structured the 2022 B bonds so that the last 2 maturities, when there's no more maturities due on some of the previously issued bonds, is somewhat end-loaded, and there's interest only in the first year. So that's why you see that slightly higher true interest cost. Robert Baird was the second bidder with a 3.86, and BOK Financial Securities was 3.8, essentially 3.86. A very tight bid as well, and lots of interest in your bond. Just so you know, when you sell GEO bonds in the state of Wisconsin, you are required to sell them competitively. So we did sell them competitively. You may also note that in the past, you've issued notes for some of your projects, your CIP projects, and some of the previous issues for the healthcare center. Notes are 10 years in length. Bonds are more than 10 years in length and no more than 20 years in length. We have, when the bids came in, we verified all of the bids and worked with the lowest cost underwriter to kind of verify the pricing. And so that's what brings us here today. In case you were curious, last year we received 4 bids on the healthcare center bonds, which were 20 years in length, and that rate at that time was 1.99%. So you can see what's been happening in the market since last year. And with this, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is there any questions for Kristen? Supervisor Dickinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there a requirement to take the lowest interest rate? I mean, I see that, Baird being from Wisconsin, is there any kind of leeway in choosing who's purchasing these?
Yes, when you go out to market, there is a prospectus or offering document that gets sent out to the entire underwriting community. That is, so everybody has the same information at the same time on what they have the potential to bid on. In that document are bid specifications that indicate that you are going to award based on a true interest cost rate. In the event that you chose the second place bid, that would actually affect going down the road your ability to bring things to market, because they would not trust that you would be following through with the specifications that you had presented publicly to the market.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we got Supervisor Sandalski.
I just got a question on on page 106 of the CIP funding. It's 23,827,939. Is that the 23,915? Is that included the interest, or?
That's a very good question. We size bond issues based on the project amount. And so we get the project, the amount that needs to get funded, and then there are cost of issuance that get added to the financing, which include fee for bond counsel, fee for disclosure counsel, fee for the rating agency, fee for the entity that actually posts the offering document, so that all of the underwriters have the same information at the same time. And it includes the fee for the financial advisor. So it's like the closing costs when you enter into a mortgage. We also allow the underwriters to bid what's called a premium. as well as a discount. Discount is like points on a mortgage. And so when they submit the bid, we want to make sure that you have enough money to finance those projects, which is in the CIP plan. So we had structured the bonds and made sure we accounted for the cost of issuance, potential for underwriter's discount, and a bond premium. And because of the types of bids we received, because you received enough premium, we were able to reduce the issue size. So we funded the project cost, and you still will be able to pay for the cost and the underwriter's combination of premium and discount.
So if you look at the original resolution on the agenda, we were originally going to issue 24,165,000. We were able to reduce that to 23,915 because of the great bidding that we had and the interest that we had in Marathon County. And so the cost, if you think about it in your home mortgage, the closing cost was less today than we had anticipated earlier. And so that yielded the additional savings. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Kristen, thank you so very much. And we will then proceed. The motion is to approve the resolution awarding the sale of $23,915,000 general obligation capital improvement bonds, Series 2022A, Resolution 38-22. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. We'll move on. Move on to the next item, E17, a resolution awarding the sale of $19,225,000 general obligation healthcare project building bonds, Series 2022B, Resolution 39-22. What is your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Robinson and seconded by Supervisor Opel. Any discussion on this resolution? Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of the motion to approve the resolution awarding the sale of $19,225,000 general obligation healthcare project building bonds, Series 2022B, Resolution 39-22. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carried, but is not unanimous and is more than 2/3, but it requires a simple majority. Moving on to item F, Infrastructure Committee. Town of Emmett request for financial aid for access to the Big Oak Plain Park Road, Resolution 40-22, item F18. Motion by Supervisor Langenhan. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Dickinson. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote on the motion to approve the Town of Emmett request for financial aid for access to Big Oak Plain Park Road, Resolution 40-22. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Say no. Motion is carried. Thank you. And we will move on to F19, a resolution to vacate a portion of highway right-of-way, Resolution 41-22. What is your pleasure? Supervisor Cavalli with a motion and Supervisor Seubert with a second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will proceed to vote on the motion to approve the resolution to vacate a portion of the highway right-of-way. Resolution 41-22. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. And it is my error when we had the memorial for item B, Mao Kang, I forgot to have the memorial read into the record, so I'd ask the clerk to read the memorial into the record.
Life and public service of Mao B. Kang. Mao B. Kang, age 48, died Friday, April 29th, 2022 at the Aspirus Hospice Home. She was born July 28, 1973 in Laos. Along with her family, she immigrated to the United States from a refugee camp in 1978. Mao had 3 children, a daughter, Kina, age 20, and 2 sons, Mishka, age 18, and Gemini, age 17. She devoted her life to her children and to victims of abuse. She worked at domestic abuse and sexual assault agencies in Wood County, in Portage County, and eventually at the women's community in Marathon County, where she was an advocate for over 20 years. Mao helped bridge many gaps between the Hmong community and the mainstream community. She devoted time to helping Hmong elders understand the laws of Wisconsin and non-Hmong community partners understand how the clan system operates and the impact it has within the Hmong community. She was a voice for Hmong women and children who often felt ignored and invisible. She recognized the beauty of so much of the Hmong culture, but also that some things needed to be changed, and she addressed those issues head on. She was still full of compassion and care, even when fighting for the rights of victims. Mao had a heart bigger than the sea, and her capacity for forgiveness was immeasurable. In everything she did, she was always thinking how her actions could make life better for the next generations. With the passing of Mao Kang, we have lost a community leader and servant who is deeply respected, admired, and honored for her devotion to her community and to serving victims of abuse. She is hereby honored and remembered for her faithful public service. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Marathon County Board of Supervisors that they enter this memorial into the proceedings of the board out of respect for the memory of Mao B. Kang. A copy of this memorial shall be sent to her family with the sympathies of the board.
Now, I know we've already voted on it, and it has been approved, but I would like to take a moment and have a moment of silence out of respect for and the memorial of Mao Kang. Thank you. And now we will proceed with item G20, announcements and/or requests. We've got Supervisor Zhang.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Some of the supervisors or my fellow colleagues might not know, but what I do for a living, I work as the executive director at the Hmong American Center. And as part of my role, I do a lot of mentorship and mentoring Hmong youth as well too in the community. And today I do have 2 Hmong youth here who's here to kind of observe the current process. So I do have Cupid Tao and Liva Bal Tao as well too. One is a student at NTC and the other is a student at DC Everest. So I just want to acknowledge them as well too about our current process and how government works. So I just want to use this opportunity to acknowledge them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements and/or requests? The clerk has a few. We need signatures from HR Finance and signatures from Infrastructure. Again, and last call, any other announcements and/or requests? Supervisor Opal, with the motion to adjourn, and seconded by Supervisor Gunnering. All those in favor of the motion to adjourn signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.